Hello everybody and welcome back to F1 23 even, with me, Dan, and the Slothz team as we get on the way with the third race of the season, which I think of the races I've done so far, and I've done 4 of them as of this morning when I'm recording this video, this one has to be my favourite for multiple reasons, which you'll soon find out today. Anyway, straight away into the into progression along the Canada. There's an engine upgrade, which is probably something that we don't need whatsoever, but we've got one anyway, and we're going to skip all of that rubbish and go straight to practice mode and try and pick up as many of these points as possible. Some of the upgrades from the start of the season are going to start filtering through now. And we are going to have more and more options available to us. So we're not quite at the point where we're going to end up not having enough money to upgrade facilities and just have like hordes of resource points just yet. That's still a little way off. But we do have a little bit of cash to spend on some facilities. And I'm sure we'll be doing that very shortly. As for this, still picking up as many points as possible as the priority, and then kind of aiming for the better of the development boosts where possible. The weight redistribution and reduction ones are always some of the best ones, as are drag reduction as well, which just, especially in the previous game when the AI were just ridiculously overpowered at launch, it was very useful not having much of that drag. And certainly by the time I got to Season 2 and actually finished all of my seasons, having all of those upgrades really did make a difference to straight line speed. Anyway, that will be the end of practice 3, and we're going to head into the area department and just pick up one more wing upgrade there. There's the Halo upgrade from the last episode, and there's a look at all of our engine development as well, and reliability, just in case you were curious where we are right now. So then we come to race number 3, and it's going to be in Australia, and much to my dismay, the heavens have opened and we have rain falling down here. Not the best of things if you remember back to any F1 22 videos that you may have seen on my channel, or even on the old channel. The rain does not suit me very well, so to see what happens, don't forget to like this video, hit that subscribe button, and turn on that notification bell as well, so you know how we get on in this race and others coming this week and next week, and see where we actually eventually finish in the Drivers' Championship at the end of the season. On to the starting grid then, and it's Max Verstappen on pole, with Charles Leclerc once again starting in P2 on the front row. So good job, Mr. Consistent there from Charles Leclerc. Behind them, we have Carlos Sainz and George Russell, Lewis Hamilton and Fernando Alonso, Lando Norris and Lance Stroll, Pierre Gasly and Esteban Ocon, Jack Doohan at 11th and Oscar Piastri, Sergio Perez and Yuki Tsunoda, Zhou Guanyu and Valtteri Bottas, Kevin Magnussen and Nico Hülkenberg. I line up in 19th alongside Logan Sargent, followed by Nick De Vries and Alex Albon. But if you're wondering why he's so out of position, I think it was just purely the lap felt very fast as I was going round in Q1. It turns out it was not, and we resulted in that starting position. But thankfully, Jack Doohan managed to make up a few extra places after getting through to Q2, after some of the other drivers at the front, like Sergio Perez, have taken some penalties. But that's all of that. Let's get on with the race. So I alluded to earlier that this is probably my favourite race that we've had so far, and this is why, amazingly, being a wet race as well. Wouldn't have expected that. And we get away now. The frame rate's a little bit choppy because my PC was literally exploding trying to render in all of these raindrops and bits of mist, even though it's not a half bad one either. But through turn 1 we go. We're actually just about alongside our teammate. He's actually shot off into the distance now, going around the outside of Kevin Magnussen here. We've also got Nico Hülkenberg making a move there on Yuki Tsunoda. If you're wondering what the hell's going on here, I think we're actually in the cutover period between the intermediates and the dries, and as a result, some of the AI have made the really odd decision to start on the hard tyre. They will regret that later on, but it certainly makes for some interesting racing. No one knows, not even Mark or Jeff or whatever his name is, know what the conditions are for racing at the moment, but the AI, at least, Russell, Leclerc, Hamilton, Joe, and Bottas have all come in for intermediates on lap 1, and they will have to sit at the back of the grid. As we rejoin our efforts on lap 2, Oscar Piastri, another one up ahead, and also Lando Norris as well are running the hard tyre, but they've elected to stay on it for now. They are going particularly slowly through a lot of these sections, but at this point, who really cares? Because they've got into their positions, and as long as they can keep everyone behind them, they've not got a big deal. As Hulkenberg locks up there, runs wide, and we bump into him, pushing him out of the way. We go up the inside, getting over the grass there, little party, end up sliding around. Magnussen tries to come back at us, but he's got no match for our straight line speed. Up ahead, we've got Sergio Perez, who's breaking down on the side of the road. And Fernando Alonso's crashed into the back of him as Sergio Perez dangerously retires. We've got debris all over the circuit right now. And a safety car has come out. That didn't take long. We're on board with our teammate who was following this. Up ahead, we've got an Alpine and then Fernando Alonso. There goes Perez, crashed into Alonso. And Jack Doohan just rear-ends Alonso because apparently the front of his car wasn't enough and he needed to have more damage. As we rejoin now on lap 4 of 20, which is pretty nice. Safety car is coming into the pit lane. Jack Doohan, Alonso and Perez now join the other guys at the back of the field. That's promoted Williams up quite far. And we've somehow got a yellow flag going through turn 1, which I completely missed. And it means that we managed to get an illegal overtake on Piastri. That's allowed Nico Hulkenberg there to try and make a move. Piastri's blocking us, but we managed to slip it up the inside. Piastri can only defend from one car at a time. We're having to give him space, but we've managed to get ahead of the McLaren and Nico Hulkenberg. Well, I expect he'll make an opportunity later on, but for now has to sit behind Piastri. We rejoin a little later following Norris, the other McLaren, who also took the hard tyre, running slightly wide there on entry. And then through this flat out section, which is particularly scary around this circuit in the wet, especially for those who are driving on hard tyres. We close it up quite nicely here towards the left-righter, and Pooh came out as we go straight up the inside of Lando Norris and somehow make no contact there as we go through. Norris actually not doing too bad. He is staying within a decent time of us, but and also the other guys on intermediate tyres, but is just not able to defend from the straight line speed that we have compared to him. Up next, we got Yuki Tsunoda, Esteban Ocon and Lance Stroll, who's currently hosting the third step of the podium. Up at the front, we've got Max Verstappen, unsurprisingly, and then an Alpine as we go rocketing up the back of Yuki Tsunoda. Nearly crash into him there, and the stewards just confirming the interchangeable conditions right now. Enable the DRS. I'm not quite sure what they've been smoking, but it doesn't look like changeable conditions right now. As we ride off board, facing down Esteban Ocon with the DRS open around the same place we got past Norris, and we do get round the outside there of the Alpine in treacherous conditions with the DRS and intermediate tyres. Not entirely sure if this is a bug or whether or not this is actually just really interchangeable conditions. But here we go, Lance Stroll. Actually, the lead car on the hard tyre, it would seem. And although he's not going particularly fast, he is on a podium slot right now. And he's not really been threatened by Ocon over the 8 laps or so that we've driven so far. We go a little deep again there. Our tyres are actually really beginning to struggle at this point in the Grand Prix. We get the DRS again. We close up on Stroll. He closes the door on us, and we have to go onto the grass there. That was not a moment you want to be braking or changing direction in, but we've managed to survive it. Demoted Stroll off of the podium and into the clutches of Esteban Ocon. hopefully later on. He's come into the pit lane as we've tried to catch up to Gasly. Verstappen, in a world of his own, is just absolutely flying right now. We've got a safety car again for something that's happened. There's a bunch of cars sort of back behind one of the Mercedes, maybe. Oh, no, here we go. We're following Kevin Magnussen going through turn 1. And he crashes into his teammate, who has just put on a fresh set of tyres. And presumably now those tyres are filled with pieces of sharp carbon fibre as we decide to roll the dice under the safety car and come into the pit lane. But what will we go on to? Are we going to stick with a new set of intermediates? Are we going to go on to dries? And the medium tyre has come out. There's a mistake on the back left, which has caused us to lose a little bit of time. But we really need to get going here because there's a massive train of cars coming that we can't see because the split times were really helpfully removed from this game. And we've actually lost a handful of positions there. We've come out ahead of Sargent, who's still in P11, so not doing too badly in this, well, what is essentially his third race ever in Formula 1. And we come round on the safety car restart, the second one, on lap 14. We're going to have, what, 5 laps to go? 6 laps to go on this race to try and get past as many of these cars as possible. Zhou Guanyu will become the first victim. As you can see, the frame rate dropping away substantially there as my PC literally needed a fan to stop overheating. We dive down the inside of Zhou Guanyu there on the medium tyre, and we really begin to see actually that a fresh set of rubber and dries really aren't that bad of an option right now, despite the fact that it looks like it should be torrential rain and wet weather tyres. Next up, we got Nick de Vries. He was a particularly slippery character in one of the other races, which is yet to come out. The AlphaTauri is fairly good at a straight line. And de Vries, they're all holding position ahead of us. We are reading them in very slowly, and in the braking zone, we go up the inside, and he's going to follow us side by side through here, but we managed to get past him up into P8. And up ahead, we've got Alex Albon and Lewis Hamilton battling away, and then a couple of other cars as well. Into turn 1 we go. Hamilton just about closes the door on us, and we had to settle for staying in P8 there. So this train is led by none other than Esteban Ocon, it seems, who's just run wide there. And we try to go around the outside of Hamilton as we capitalise on Ocon's mistake, causing everyone to bunch up. And we get past the 7-time world champion. We've got Alex Albon in the Williams, who still holds P6. This is crucial for the lower reaches of the Constructors' Championship that he does well in this race, as does Sargent. Although I'm not entirely sure where Sargent is right at this moment. And we'll come up to the same corner that we've made so many overtakes on. We've got more flags waving up ahead. We've probably got another crash going on. We nearly run into the back of Albon there as we go through. Oh, and Esteban Ocon spins, and we nearly hit Alex Albon again for the second time. There is another safety car, this time a virtual safety car for the Alpine, which has spun. This is on board with Russell, who was directly behind Esteban Ocon, who already lost it there and managed to hold a really good drift until he hit the curb and go through. There was also a car parked at the side of the road, which is presumably what the yellow flag was for. And that is Pierre Gasly retiring from the race. He was actually on the podium, and then this is the shot from on board the other Alpine, which we immediately cut to. As a little puff of smoke comes out of Pierre Gasly's car. And we rejoin on lap 17. Green flags. We've got Verstappen leading the way. We've got Russell now on the podium, followed by us, who have somehow made it onto the podium despite starting, I think, 17th. As we weave all over the place there, as we've just got a really fractional amount of grip going into the left-righter, where we've overtaken so many cars in this Grand Prix. But can we catch Russell? We've got just over 3 laps Jeff is telling us to come in for intermediates, but so far it doesn't seem bad. He's just an okay clear as well, which suggests there may have been another accident, but I don't see any yellow flags as of yet. But as we come round here, the final couple of corners, Russell goes wide. He's peeling off into the pits. That means we're now sitting on the second step of the podium in only our third Grand Prix. Hamilton's coming as well. They're going to double stack the Mercedes. That has just ruined their entire race. And as we come through turn one, I can't see if anyone else has come in, but Lance Stroll has now been promoted back up to fourth with a 5-second penalty. Norris is the third car on the podium, and we follow Max Verstappen. What is Verstappen going to do here? And he's going to come into the pit lane, but we don't know where we are in comparison. Oh, we're just there. We're going to come round the final corner with 2 laps to go. Verstappen is still in the pit lane. You can't see him behind the scoreboard, but he is there. He's just come out of his garage, and we come flying through, and we take the lead of the Grand Prix with just 2 laps to go, and no one in reach of stopping us as we drive around here seamlessly in soaking wet conditions on dry tyres. This is the battle for second right now, because Lance Stroll has that penalty. Lando Norris versus Carlos Sainz, 2 of our former teammates, 2 of our former rivals from F1 22 in an alternate universe. Sainz goes to the outside of Norris. Norris tries to hang on here. Sainz just gets past. Much faster car, and probably a bit fresher rubber as well, enabling him to do that. Well, as long as he can stay within 5 seconds of Stroll, that is P2 for Carlos Sainz. Behind him, though, Norris continues to fight, this time with Max Verstappen, who hasn't lost a huge amount of places, but comparatively, that is a lot of points. Verstappen goes to the inside. It's going to be the outside. They've both got the DRS. Verstappen has slotted back in behind Norris as they come down towards the left-righter. But Verstappen is all over the back of the McLaren as they come through here. We've also got Leclerc on Piastri in the background. But Verstappen goes to the inside, and he's taken away the podium position from Lando Norris. They are still within 5 seconds of Stroll, so the position is theirs. But here we go, on the 3rd race of the season, by sheer luck, we are crossing the line, a Grand Prix winner. We do a 360 to celebrate and pick up a bunch of Steam achievements at the same time. And that is much, much faster than I could have anticipated picking up our first win. We get driver of the day as well, and a big smile on our faces. Max Verstappen, he's won both races so far, congratulates us as we posture around in our moist-looking race suit and come out onto the podium celebrating like a sore winner. And joining us, we have Carlos Sainz. That is the most uncomfortably long handshake I've ever seen in my life when handing over the trophies. And quite rightly, Max Verstappen and Carlos Sainz assault us with champagne. Our team principal there looking a little bit out of place. So, on to the full race results. Of course, we picked up the win. Carlos Sainz and Max Verstappen joined us on the podium. They were followed by Lando Norris, Oscar Piastri. Lance Stroll gets demoted to 6th. Nico Hülkenberg, Joe Guanyu, Yuki Tsunoda, and Alex Albon picks up the final point as well. Over to the Drivers' Championship, Max Verstappen remains at the top, but Carlos Sainz has now reeled him in slightly, now within 15 points, followed by us in P3, 27 points behind the leader of the Drivers' Championship. Behind us, Sergio Perez, George Russell, Lando Norris, Lewis Hamilton, Charles Leclerc, Oscar Piastri, and Lance Stroll make up the top 10. I should say joint with Stroll is Fernando Alonso. Then we have Nico Hülkenberg, Joe Guanyu, Yuki Tsunoda, Esteban Ocon, and Alex Albon as the point scorers, followed by Gasly, Nick De Vries, Jack Doohan, Valtteri Bottas, Kevin Magnussen, and Logan Sargent. And then over to the Constructors' Championship, Red Bull are just shy of hitting 3-digit figures on their point tally. They're followed by Ferrari, Mercedes, Slothz still ahead of McLaren, but only by just, and Aston Martin start to fall away in 6th. They're followed by Haas, Alfa Romeo, AlphaTauri, Alpine, and Williams, as all teams have now scored at least 1 point. And that's all for this race. We'll catch you tomorrow for the final race this week in Miami.